are like.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that, I mean, Dom accepted the invitation, Sergeant Dominic.
Oh, did he?
So yeah. So
yeah.
And quite a few people have accepted. So I think we'll just have to wait and see what's going on. But it's 5 o'clock now, so I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, I'm just wondering if I should wait a couple of minutes.
Might be an idea, Councillor, actually. There are more people have logged in, but...
I am going to... Let me kill a bit of time. Let me start by saying who I am. Right, I'm Paulette, Councillor Hamilton, and I'm the local councillor for the Holyhead ward. Now, this afternoon, we're about to have a meeting. We've got some very esteemed speakers with us today, so I'm absolutely looking forward to today's meeting. So I do hope we have the residents coming on board to listen to what some of the professionals are going to be saying. So let me start with the agenda. Now, the first item on the agenda is welcome and introductions, which I sort of started a minute ago. But what I'll say is I'd like to welcome everybody to today's meeting, and I'll also say again, I'd like to welcome all the speakers, but more than that, I'd like to welcome the residents that have taken the time to log in and listen to what's happening in their area. So welcome, and I think we'll have a good meeting. So we will move to notice of recording. Can I inform everybody that this meeting will be recorded and will be put on our website. So if you do not want your face to be shown, please don't switch your camera on. But if you're going to speak, going to ask questions, it will be recorded. So just to let you know, right? And the third point, the COVID-19 information update. Public health officers to give latest information update. Right, is there anybody here from public health yet?
No. Not as yet, Councillor Hamilton. Yeah. Marion has been invited, but she hasn't logged on as yet.
Okay.
Right, okay. Councillor Hamilton, I've sent Marion a request, a reminder to tell her to join. I think she might be with us now. I'm hoping that that's her that's just come in.
Is it her?
No, but in the event that she hasn't come in yet, do you want to carry on and I'll try and get hold of her?
I'll carry on and I'll talk.
Okay, I'll try. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Right. Just as a start point, we're waiting for Mariam to come, but just as a start point, COVID has been with us since January of this year. It's been one of those things that has really taken a lot of officers' time. It has been COVID. But as we move into, we're about 10 or 15 days into the second lockdown, can I say to everybody, I believe that during this second lockdown, I've started to see a lot of business as usual. So although officers have been working really hard, and so has the public, to be honest, what I've started to see is business as usual during COVID. Now, during this second lockdown, as everybody knows, it's particularly affected hospitality, it's affected local businesses, it's affected gyms, but businesses that are considered as key businesses and important, they've remained open. So has our schools, so have our colleges and our universities. And at the moment, the big issue, well, two things. The thing I wanted to get across to the public tonight was relating to the COVID champions. We have 494 or something COVID champions across the city, but in Holyhead ward we only have 6. It's a little bit of an embarrassment that in the ward where the councillor that heads up the cabinet in this area, we only have 6 people. I am so grateful to the 6 people that have put their name forward, and I know that they share the information widely. But I am asking tonight that if anybody wants to become a COVID champion, all it is, you pass the information onto your networks. So it can be your family, your friends, just your networks and anybody else, if you're in any WhatsApp groups, you pass that information on. We'd be really appreciative. So that's the first thing about COVID champions. The second thing, we have had, we need to get our testing rates up. So if there's anybody out there, and I'm doing this for the recording more than anything, if people are out there and they think they may have the symptoms of COVID-19, so a rapid cough, a temperature, or they've got a really sore throat, or what we're asking them to do is to ring up 119 and to go and take the test, because COVID-19 is a virus. This virus does not spread on its own. It's spread through human contact. And what we're asking of the residents in this ward at the moment, our numbers are not the highest in the city, but our numbers are quite high. So what we're asking of residents is, could they please remember to continue to social distance, continue to wash your hands regularly, continue to wear your masks, whether you're in shops or if you're out and about and you're not able to social distance, to wear your masks. But if you get the symptoms of COVID-19, many of the Asian community and the African Caribbean community, what they talk about is a lot of aches and pains. So when they initially get COVID, they just feel very achy, as if they've got flu. And then what then tends to happen, that cough comes on, and then the very high temperature. If you feel that you could have COVID-19, please, 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 please go and do the test, and more so, please self-isolate. If you're in a group that are very low paid, there is that £500 that you can claim. Please go onto the council website. They will show you, it's on there, how to claim that £500. We know that a lot of people now are choosing, for whatever reason, lots of people are doing the right things, but there are some people that are not choosing to engage with the process. I am asking you, please, 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 please. It's important for the health of the residents of this ward and of this city that you follow the rules. And finally, we've had lots of issues over the last few weeks about people saying they're not going to take the test and they're not going to take the vaccine. Now, I'm not going to say to you, I don't understand why you would say that. Especially, I don't understand about the test, because for me, it's a simple test and it will keep you safe. But with the vaccine, I know that it's caused a lot of unsettledness. All I can say to you is the people that have developed the vaccine, they are very good at what they do. And this vaccine has been tested on a lot of people. Fair enough, it may not be as large a sample. And I know that the conspiracy theories are out there about the vaccine. I'm not going to go into the conspiracy theories. I'm going to say to you, we think that a vaccine will be ready by the beginning of December. Primary care are working with the council, with the health service to get the sites up and ready. But the people that they'll be targeting in the first instance are our very vulnerable community, and also health and social care staff that are out there and need to have the vaccine. The population will not be vaccinated. This is what they're saying till about the middle of next year. But what I'm saying is, please don't be fearful, because it is important that we follow the rules, and this vaccine will help us to get back to a normal life, a life which many of us are absolutely missing, and I'm one of them, because I'm desperate for a holiday. And also, if you're in one of the vulnerable groups, can I ask you, please ensure that you take the flu vaccine, the flu injection. It is important that you have that, because COVID-19 and the flu virus, they come from similar strains of the COVID virus. Of COVID, they're a similar strain of the virus. Now, if two viruses collide in your body, you will not be a well person or persons or what have you. So I'm desperately asking you that it is important that this year, that if you know that you're due to have your flu jab, please go and have it, because we want people to remain as fit and well for as long as possible. And my last and final point is, if you're living with things like high blood pressure, if you've got diabetes, if you've got sickle cell and thalassemia, please try and remain as well as possible. Take your medication. If you're slightly overweight, even if you're not, do your regular exercising. Make sure in this season you stay as well as possible. If you need further information, honestly, the council website is brilliant with what to do at this moment in time. If you cannot go onto the council website, you can go onto the NHS website, you can go onto PHE. Honestly, these are reputable health, and the government website. These are reputable sites that will give you the correct information. I did say it was the last point, but I've got one more, then I'll shut up. The last point that I want to highlight, someone will ask me about care homes. I know that there has been a blanket ban re care homes since about the 14th of August. What's happened is, Justin, back in August, the public health director, we were given a direction that if the infection rate was over 14 in every 100,000, because of what happened during the first wave of COVID, we had to close care homes to the public. Now that guidance has now changed, because the government is very keen that families can get in to see their loved ones within the care homes. So what I'm asking of you is, what we've done, we've sent out information to the care homes to give them guidance on this issue. And the guidance that we've sent out, just done very roughly, is the care homes are being told, if you're unsure, your COVID rates are high or what have you, please try and remain remotely. So do it via video conferencing and what have you. They are bringing in the rapid testing into care homes, because we will be targeting it at care homes so people can get in. But they will be asked in the care homes to do risk assessments for people going in. And then what they'll be asked to do is to take regular testing. Now, with the rapid testing, it's a 30-minute thing. So you take the test, you dip it into a reservoir, this stuff you've got to dip it into, and then 25 minutes later you read it. If you go over 30 minutes, it's no good. So 25 minutes later you read it, and it will tell you if you're negative or if you're positive. And it's one of these tests where, fortunately for us, you get very few false positives and false negatives. It's quite an accurate test. They have been doing it over in Liverpool, and they have been blown away with the results. So as a city, we have been given, or we've been offered 10,000 of these tests, and we'll be given 10% of these tests every week, starting from next week, I think. And we are at the moment putting together an action plan how those tests will be used. So again, it will be for people in care homes, it will be for social care and health staff, and it will be for people who work for the council and other places that are in key roles. And they're looking, and I'm not sure where they've got to, at having a big centre at the NIA, but I'm not sure how far we've got to with that. So there's lots of work going on in the city, and I'm just saying to everybody, the first wave was absolutely a nightmare, but I truly believe that with the dedication of staff, with the work from the volunteers, with what we've done out in the community, we're getting it together, and God willing, we will have business as usual. Are there any questions? I wasn't meant to do that. That was supposed to be public health. So I've just covered that for public health. So are there any questions before I move on? Or is Marion in here?
Yes, I am.
Are you, Marion? Have I missed
Yes.
anything, Marion?
I think you've done a really, really good job there. So, in terms of where we are in the country now, we're 44th with our rate of 340 per 100,000. So we're not doing as bad. Our positivity rate is pretty high. It's 16%. From the calls this morning, the hospitals are having quite a lot of pressure. So all you've said is really important so that we can try and reduce that pressure in amongst our hospitals. The vaccine was to be introduced in December, but it's looking more likely that it's actually going to be January now, because there's been some logistical problems but they're being planned and will be overcome. In terms of the wards that have got the biggest problems at the moment, Aston has the highest number of cases. Alum Rock has the next number, then Glebe Farm and Tile Cross, Sparkbrook and Handsworth Wood. And those are all above 100 cases now. So it's quite a lot of needs to be done. All that you said, Councillor Hamilton, is really important.
Okay, Marion, thank you for that. Thank you for the backfill. I appreciate it. I noticed that Paulette Akeem, hands up. Paulette, would you like to ask your question?
We're talking about the number of cases rising, but if I remember rightly, at the beginning of the pandemic, they weren't testing. So therefore, the cases will rise because now they're testing. And I'm a member of the BME community. And why do I need to be targeted first to get this test? Not the test, to get the vaccine.
Paulette, who told you you would be targeted first? Have you got an underlying? Let me finish my question back to you. Have you got an underlying health condition?
Absolutely not.
Are you over 60?
Nope.
So why do you believe you'll be targeted?
Because that's what's in the media.
No. That is part of the misinformation that is going on out there. The groups that will be targeted are the groups that are most vulnerable. And it means people that are living with high blood pressure, people that are over, I think it's the age of 60 to start with, people with diabetes, different heart conditions, people with sickle cell and what have you. The idea is people that will have a really poor outcome, if they develop COVID-19, they will be the ones that will be targeted, but they won't be targeted straight away. It'll be in different tranches. Marion may have the list of how it will work, but it definitely won't be you or me, Paulette.
No, it won't. Paulette, Dr. Councillor Hamilton is completely correct. It's going to start with NHS staff, followed by social care staff and care home people in care homes. And then later on, it'll go through the age groups, all according to how clinically vulnerable that an individual is. The actual rollout of the whole scheme won't happen till the middle of next year.
And Paulette, these are some of the things that we're trying to get across to the community, that they're not being targeted. And also, what I'd like to make clear tonight is that we live in a democratic country. If you do not wish to take that vaccine, you have got a choice. But the problem is, and this is just a personal thing, and I'm saying it on record, as time goes along, if I go to Africa, or I used to go to Africa quite a bit, you can't go into Africa without yellow fever and what's the other one, malaria tablets and what have you. They will not let you through their borders without that. Now, with this vaccine that's coming online, I believe that in the midterm, it won't be short term, but in the midterm, because other countries have worked so hard to get rid of the virus. Remember, it's been a pressure between the economic issues that we've had, as well as the health issues. And as you've seen, lots of people have lost their jobs. Lots of people, firms have closed. You know, when you go into the city centre, you can see the devastation. When you read on Birmingham Live, read the people down at the, you know, at Bullring, the fact that they're earning no money. It is not in the country, in the government's interest for the economy to get to that state again. The amount of money they've had to spend, it's been worse than in the war. They have, more people have died of COVID-19 than in the Second World War. So the point is, it is not in their interest not to make sure that this thing is eradicated throughout the world. So they will be, in my opinion, they will be pushing hard for people to try and take the vaccine to protect each other. But at the beginning, I don't think anything like that. They can't force you. And like mothers that have young children and decide, I'm not going to give my child the vaccine, they cannot force you. But as time goes along, if you're going to get restricted from living a normal life, if you want to do things, because I can tell you, Paulette, you're not going to be able to go into Jamaica if you ever go there, and you won't be able to go to the African countries because they will be insisting that people that come into their country are clean of this virus because of the devastation it's caused around the world to the economy and such like. I hope I've answered that in full, but it's just to reassure you, people are not forcing Black people or Asian people to take anything they don't want to take, but they have to look at this in the light of day. This has crippled not just this country, but the world. And unless we can get rid of this and put it behind us, it's killing our elderly, it's maiming people. People are being in hospital for over 200 days with this particular condition. You've got long COVID. People have got conditions now that they don't know how long it's going to last. We've got people that need to have healthcare, they can't get into the health system, so it's going to have a long-lasting effect on them. Paulette, we've got people living with mental health issues out there because of what they've gone through this year. So as a city, we are disproportionately, in a country, we are, as Caribbean, African Caribbean, and as Asian people, we have been disproportionately affected. But if we just keep saying, I'm not having it, I'm not having it, you know, eventually people are going to lose sympathy with us, and we're going to put ourselves, as we did with other parts of our lives, on the back shelf, and I don't want that for us, so I'm going to stop there. But it's a good question, by the way. You raised a very good point. So thank you. And NH, who is NH? Nina, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Paulette. My question was on health. You know, when I know somebody who's been sent a notification for vaccine. Now, yeah. What if they refuse? What happens? What's the outcome of that? What happens if they refuse first time? Will they get the chance again, or they're not going to get the chance?
They'll always get the chance again, but they're in a priority group, so that's why they've been invited. Is it the vaccine or the flu vaccine?
No, they've had the flu. They've had the flu. This is a vaccine.
Marion, do you know if they're sending out invites for the flu vaccine already? I didn't think they were. That confused me.
People are being invited for flu because
not the flu, the COVID vaccine.
She's had the flu, but she's received a notification regarding the vaccine. But she was discussing it with me, so that's the reason I'm asking. And if she refuses, what happens? I just want to know.
Nothing will happen at all if she refuses, but she must be one of the clinically vulnerable because they're going to be the ones that are offered it first. And also there's a gap that needs to take place between having the flu and having the vaccine. There's a kind of 3-week gap to make sure that it's effective.
Thank you.
Okay. But remember, we're in a democratic country. I'm just emphasizing this. No one can be forced to do anything they don't want to do. So if she says no, Marion has made it clear nothing will happen to her. She may be invited again next year.
Okay.
Okay. Right, unless there are any other questions, we're going to move swiftly on to item 4. Les, are you here? Local updates, waste collection.
Yes, I am, Councillor.
Hello, Les, how are you?
Yeah, I've put a background on which is a bit more helpful. Move that over slightly. Thanks for that, Councillor. And if I'd have known you were going to do updates, I'd have asked you to do mine. That was very good, I must say. But on a serious note, Holyhead ward obviously continues to be one of our wards within the city that we work hard in. I've done some looking at our miscollection rates. The recycling and the residual miscollections that are reported by members of the public are not too high in the city. They're quite low in comparison to some of the wards. So that's really positive. So obviously our collection service with COVID since March hasn't really been affected too much. We've been out there every week or every day collecting waste and sweeping your streets. That's showing now that the miscollections are quite low. We're able to complete most days, if not every day, probably better than what we have done. And a lot of that is down to the general public for, in the early days stopping at home so we could get in and get out with the lockdown. And we're seeing a lot more of this of recent. So, from waste management to the public, we'd like to thank you for, in a nice way, keeping out of our way and letting us do our job. I've also been looking at the dumping across the city. Now, Holyhead does show quite high within the city on our target sets, etc. It's by far not the worst. It's probably about 50% of the number of the worst ward within the city. Nevertheless, it's far higher than what we'd like it to be. A lot of that is attributed to people actually being at home now. The public waste sites we can go and visit and book an appointment for, they'll take your waste. That's still open, and urge anybody, if you got an old settee or some waste to get rid of, take that up. There's no queuing at the tips anymore. You go in by appointments, they give you a time to attend, and it's just as normal there. You go in, they follow the social distancing, etc. But nevertheless, dumping has gone up, and it has gone up in Birmingham, but I can also advise it's gone up across the country. So we did see a spike probably about 2 months ago now, where actually dumping had gone up in comparison to last year by about 25%, which might not sound a lot when you look at percentages, but we're talking many, many thousands of instances of dumping. That has come down more significantly in recent weeks, and we're actually below the trend to where we were last year. So it is a positive, but it is a problem for us. And as I've said, lots of people have stopped at home, and I would say out of boredom in many cases. Have had to tidy up, done some painting around the house, etc. And that has increased a bit on the dumping because people have had nowhere to put it. We are actively tackling that on a daily basis, and we've got some extra teams out in different areas of the city, and they're literally trawling across the wards, getting rid of that dumping. We are engaging with our waste enforcement colleagues, and where we're seeing the dumping spots, and there is a couple in your ward, obviously, and you'll know about them. We're taking active actions now to try and identify who's doing it and how to stop it.
Could I stop you there for 1 minute?
Yeah.
Have you had any success in that area? Because that's been the biggest gripe from residents, because I keep telling them that we will act on it, but they can't see what's being done.
Yeah, a lot of it is done covertly, which you'd understand why. There's been some quite large cases that have gone through, and people have been fined. We've closed businesses down, we've crushed vans, we've done all sorts of things. We are moving into a new regime where we're restructuring our services, and that will bring in our own waste enforcement teams. So unfortunately, COVID stopped us recruiting, but we will have a dedicated team that will work on the streets for waste management. So they won't be going out doing things like food inspections and stuff like that, they're going to be solely reporting to and working for waste management, or street scene as we're now known. So that's for the near future. It's just COVID stopping us advertising and recruiting to them positions. So we do see, hopefully in the near future, dare I say it, a positive impact there, where we will have a dedicated resource working within our wards across the city, dealing with and tackling with the dumping, especially the regular spots. What we've also done this year is we managed to get a bit of extra funding for the leaf fall. So we used to, a few years ago, it was funded, and unfortunately, due to that was taken away. But this year we've had some money put back into the service, and we've got a leaf clearing resource out there as we currently speak. They're working every depot every day up until it's cleared. We probably all have noticed it was quite summery up until about a month ago, and then we suddenly had a change in the weather, and it seemed like every leaf fell out the trees over a weekend. That has given us a bit of a problem, because where it would normally fall at a lesser rate over about 5 or 6 weeks, predominantly it all fell in one go. So we're actively tackling the worst spots, and the worst spots are usually for us where we've got the broadleaf trees, and that'd be like your conker trees, your chestnut trees, that type of thing. The big leaves, they're usually first to drop, and then we go for areas like where you've got oak trees and the hardwood trees, which generally don't drop until December, but we haven't seen that this year. Everything's dropped at once. So, you know, if you are getting a lot of leaves in your area, let me assure you, we do triage. The managers know where it's bad, and we're out there from Barr, who services your area. There's 3 dedicated teams out there on a daily basis, on top of the normal ward cleaning teams, and they're working hard to clear anything that they see on a systematic approach. But looking at it triage-wise, the worst roads.
Can I also say, Les, just before I forget, the residents in the ward have been really good, and a number of streets have been collecting, you know, the grey bags, and they've actually been collecting the leaves themselves and putting them, especially round by Regent Road, round that end, and they've been doing it, I think, up by where Nina is, up by Oxhill Road, up that end. They've been doing it also, that I absolutely know about. And the staff, the bin staff, have been phenomenal, because they've come round and collected the bags, so more rubbish hasn't been piled on them. So well done you on that. You really.
Well, thanks for that, Councillor.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, we have had a bit of a problem this year that we were looking to tackle that in many ways, where we could get groups out all working together, clean outside your house, we'll supply the bags, we'll pick the bags up, etc. But the social distancing and the rule of 6, obviously that's had a real impact on us, so we haven't been able to do what we wanted to do. But dare I say, this time next year, you know, I like to be out there with everybody, doing our little bit, get our streets as clean as possible, and doing our bit in our local neighbourhoods. But this year, obvious reasons, been a bit of a problem for us.
Yeah. Let me go to a few questions. We've got Mrs. If I've said this wrong, forgive me. Mrs. Real is first, and then Gormet is second.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much, Councillor, for adding me. And can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I just wanted to let you know, I'm sure you have received our email from Mr. Khan about HMOs on Station Road. Yeah?
Well, can we leave that one till later on?
That's fine.
Would it be possible? Do you have anything to ask the bin service?
The bin service, if you could, you know, the gentleman was talking about the leaves on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really piling up over here. What happens when sometimes little children or elderly people are walking, they do slip. Sometime I've seen as well. So it's just a request, if it could clean quick as they can. That's all.
Yeah, what I'll do with that, Council, I'll take that back.
Yeah.
I know the local manager, he's got the 3 teams,
okay.
and we're working within the 3 districts that we cover from Barr. So there will be one over that way, Answorth Way, etc. I'll ask them to prioritise around there. They do prioritise around schools because obviously people slip in. There's lots of football and that. So I'll mention that to the local manager to get that on his to-do list as soon as he possibly can.
Yeah,
I'm taking that. Is that around
Mrs.
Station Road?
Are you finished? Can I go to the other speakers?
Yes.
Okay. Can I ask Gurmet? If I've said that wrong, I'm really sorry. And then Walter, and then Nina. If the three of you ask your questions, and then Les can answer them at once. Is that all right, Les? Get your pen.
That's fine.
Right.
I'm ready.
So let's start with Gurmet. Gurmet? Let's go to Walter. Gurmet might be having some problems putting taking his mute button off.
Hello, Paulette, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hi, thank you for arranging the meeting. I got a question for Les. You said there's going to be a new team. How many people are you going to have on the new team and what they're going to be doing?
Right. Thanks for that. Can we go straight over to Nina?
Yeah, my question is regarding, when these vans come and fly tip, and you, obviously, sometimes we can get the numbers, registration, and sometimes we can't. And when we report it to the waste section, obviously, I know that you've got enforcement team available to do that, but if there's no number plate, what is the action that your team can take? Because at the moment, I've been told you can't do anything.
Can we try and get, thank you, Nina. Can we try and get the question from, have I said that correctly? Gurnek. I'll have to skip Mr. Gurnek. Okay, over to you, Les.
Okay, obviously Mr. Gurnek could come back later and I'll pick that one up. For your question, Walter, the new team, I don't know exactly how many, but we're talking, I've heard a notional number of around about 8, and they will be out there. They were doing everything that waste enforcement do. They will be genuine waste enforcement officers. So, they're going to work with us around dumping. They'll probably do some work around education, I would feel. They may well be doing some inspections on whether people have got a duty of care for their waste. So they'll go to a business and say, if you have a business in Birmingham or anywhere for that matter, you have to have an agreement with the council that you look after your waste. And that, let's just say it's a salary shop. They might have a duty of care for 1 bag a week. And then you might have a vegetable shop as a duty of care, and they tell us they might have 2 bags a week. They'll go into that vegetable shop and say, there's no way you can run this business with 2 bags. You should be having 2 containers maybe, or 1 container, 2 collections a week. And what that does, when they get to that point, we can't make them come with the council, but we can make them have the correct duty of care. So they'll go into them businesses and say, this is what you need to do. They give them a time frame to sort themselves out and get their right service provision in place. And if they don't, they fine them. For Nina's question around fly tipping vans, etc., that's waste prevention's one of their biggest tasks, because they try and generate and dump a lot of waste in blind alleyways, etc., anytime, and we can't catch them. If people have CCTV, if people get a registration of a van, we are more than keen to get that. We will have to interview you because you'll be seen as a witness. The downside of that is people get scared off because they feel of reprisals if they do so. A tipping site or an area where people tip is classed as like a crime scene, and it has to be dealt with as such. So we need to make sure we've got everything in place to secure a proper prosecution. So if you do see that and you've got the registration, please come forward and tell us. And someone should, if they don't, go to your council. The council will come to me. I'll make sure you are visited and we get a statement off you. Sadly, if someone dumps and you just say it was a green car seen driving off, for example, there's very little we can do because there could be 10,000 green cars in Birmingham. But if we can identify by registration, we're more than keen to catch these people and put a stop to it.
But Leslie, what's happened is it's a hotspot area, and I think you know we spotted one car. We reported that. Now we've got the residents. They actually put money together to put CCTV there to prevent this, and they're all working together. But still, the vans are coming. The problem we got is it's darker now, and with their lights, you can't see the number plate. And when we reported to the way section, because we can't see the number plate, we tried it zooming and so forth. This is a problem.
Yeah, I completely understand, and I can only thank you really for the efforts you're making. But as I've said, without that concrete evidence, either catching them red-handed, should we say, and if we know that a van or a car is coming at 8 or 9 p.m. every Tuesday, we'll make sure someone's there at 8 or 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. The thing with CCTV, we use it, but with the new changes in data protection, was what's called now GDPR, we have to have everybody's consent to stick a camera up. And if we've got a place where people are dumping and it's someone that lives there, they don't sign into it because they know they're going to get caught. It's really, really difficult around the laws of videoing people on cameras and stuff like that. But if you've got something and you catch someone, please, I'll be quite interested, Nina, to see what you've got to try and generate a conversation with waste enforcement. Because if it's a continual problem, we know about it, you know about it, waste enforcement should know about it. If you've got cameras out there and you're trying to capture it, surely we should be doing something to help along with that. Surely.
We are doing it.
Can I thank you, Nina? Les, can I ask a few questions on behalf of residents?
Of course you can, yeah.
Okay. The first question is, we've got some hotspots in the area and the signage is really poor. One of the areas is around Clarence Road and Raglan Road. It's on that corner. The dumping is prolific. And the problem is we haven't got the proper signage. I've asked for the signage time and time again, and we don't seem to be getting it. Not unless we should go to somewhere else and not to yourselves. And residents are tired because even when they send video recordings, they feel that they're not getting anywhere with it all. We've got residents over on Regent Road that are really, they're doing a good job with trying to get things on record, but again they feel they're not getting the support what they're doing. We've got other residents in the ward that are literally going around the ward on our behalf and they're highlighting the different dump sites, but we don't see any action. You guys are brilliant. You are clearing that rubbish. But what residents are saying now, they're pushing, they don't want it dumped there in the first place. And what they're saying is if they go to bed at 10 o'clock at night, once they've gone to bed is when people seem to be finding their way out there to do the dumping. And they just want to know, how can they work with you guys? They're willing to work with you to just sort out some of the dumping that's going on. And a resident, So Bidder, said the corner of Melvin Road and Holyhead Road Junction, they regularly flight it. We've got a list of those sites. And to be honest, Justin Cllr is fantastic because he gets the list and he gets his officers to go out and they do clear it up. But I'm pushing for a bit more. I want us to work together to stop it in the first place because Holyhead isn't a big ward. It's 95 streets and the residents are willing. They are really willing, but they need help. They need to know what they can do. They've asked for cameras. We've got like Soho House in the ward. I know you might not know these places individually, but we've got a place called Soho House, and Soho House, the people in the flats, it is just piled high. You've got rats running about there and it's just not pleasant for people living in the area. So what they're saying is, tell us what we can do to help you to do your job. The problem is a lot of them are nervous to say if they spot somebody dumping, they don't really want to have to go to court, and that's what they're forced to do, because people are saying to them, we can't do anything unless you're prepared to go to court. The residents are nervous. They don't want to go to court, but they want to help to clear up their ward.
I completely get that, Councillor, and I completely get people's, I wouldn't say reluctance, but their nervousness that they might see someone that might even be their neighbour doing it, you know, and we might pop in and clear the waste, but they've got to live there, and I get all that completely. I think what we probably need to do is that if we're seeing that going on, neighbour or not, we need to have a line of communication. So our bin collection day may be, say, a Tuesday, and then on a Wednesday people are dumping out. We need to know when it's coming out. Now, we can set up a chain of communication that someone tells us and gives us that intel, so we know every Wednesday night somebody's coming out and dumping. I'll tell you, I'll promise you this, I will get managers out there monitoring it, and we'll take the appropriate actions. But what residents want to do in the ward, and through their nervousness is stopping it happening, we can fit in, we can do that bit, but we just need to give us that bit of information to start with, to say, look, this is what's happening. It's every Tuesday night. It's a white car and we don't see the registration. Give us that. Let us try and take that forward then. So it's us as a council taking it forward, not the individual. Again, lots of what stops us doing things like this is COVID, because we just can't come out. You know, it would be classed as an unnecessary journey at the moment, which hopefully it ends in December, fingers crossed. But I want to give all the wards that I look after, Holyhead, you know, as much as any of the other, the best opportunity to stop dumping, because I would argue that most dumping that happens, it's not people driving in from Sandwell and places like that. It's people local.
The problem we've got in Holyhead, we've got a lot of white vans, and what they're doing throughout the day, they're going around the city or outside, they're collecting stuff. Then what they don't want, we have it going on up by Wattville. What they don't want, they literally just empty the vans on the street so that they can go around and collect the rubbish another day. So you're right, it is people that have the vans and live in the areas. But the problem is we have to move from that to get to a spot with those where they're frightened to dump where they live. We've got the same issue on Bernard Drive, where at the moment, because it's a piece of private land, we cannot get the land cleared up, and the residents are absolutely distressed because it's only a small road, and because it's classed as private land, the council have now refused to clear it up, and it is a mess because the van drivers are coming in from Regent Road, Westbourne Road, they're going round by Bernard Drive and they're dumping the rubbish. My last point, I didn't know that we weren't doing any no dumping signs. I've just had it put in the box that the city council are doing no dumping signs. Now, no one's ever told me that when I've asked for dumping signs. I've never been told that we've stopped doing it.
Right, just to answer that last point firstly, Councillor, I would suggest probably about 18 months ago, we stopped doing the no dumping signs. Because what we found was wherever we put a no dumping sign, created dumping. It's almost it was almost that people can't read past the word dumping and they didn't read the word no. And what we have found, believe it or not, is by not putting them out, it has reduced the dumping. Having said that, we did an exercise towards August where we did another poster campaign where managers, if they got a local area, and I'll use Regent Road as an example, if they got the corner of Regent Road there's dumping, there's another poster we can stick up. It's quite hard hitting poster, but if we got areas like that, Justin's got an absolute fistful of them, and he will go and put them out as and when required.
Okay.
So
I've got a couple of questions. Well, it's points. In the box it says Justin has provided some "Don't be a tosser" sign.
That's them. I didn't want to say in the open arena, but that's the signs. Yeah,
I've not really seen those signs.
Yeah.
These will be put up by the residents to help deter the fly tipping in the area. Now that I know he's got them, I will ensure that I tell the residents. And also in here it says in our I presume it's Neighbourhood Watch area. We have engaged with Birmingham City Council Waste Management, and they have supported all complaints of fly tipping. Yeah, well, yeah, I agree with that, and advised proactively looking at issues that have been reported to them. And then we've got Walter, who said it's not only white vans. There are a lot of landlords that are dumping their rubbish in the street. I reported before, but I think nothing has been done.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of issues there, and I think it was Nina, I think, touched on it about HMOs. So lots of our larger, older buildings and houses are being converted to HMOs. That in itself brings us a number of problems, in as much as what was previously like 4 or 5 bedroomed house becomes an 8-bedroomed HMO, and they don't have anywhere to store waste. I would suggest that lots of people that go and live in them are transient. They're just coming into Birmingham and they soon move out, so they don't know what rules we play by, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So when they move out, whatever they've got, they just throw on the street. It is a problem for us, it really is, and it's not just in Holyhead, it's across the whole of the city where we have these HMOs growing.
And I've just got one last point, and then I am going to shut up and let you go. It's just nice to get the bin service here. In parts of the ward, I've got Desta on the line, so that's why I wanted to bring it up. We've got issues where we believe what a lot of people are doing, they're changing some of the big old houses into multiple flats. And there are not enough bins outside the flat. So what's happening is the tenants are they're just dumping everywhere. So can you give us any advice? Because I've been ringing the bin service to ask for bins. We have had some bins, but it's not enough.
Yeah, I think it's not us per se that's missing this. I think it's what the council might be missing it, and it's in with the planning. So if someone applies for planning to change a building into a multiple occupancy flats or whatever, they contact us, we can go along there and assess what's needed. So it could be communal recycling, it could be that we put containers in, or it could be that we put more bins to account for all the people that live there. We'll do whatever we need to do, but we can't second guess it, if that makes any sense. But having said that, our refuse collectors, they're able, because they've got some technology in the line of a phone which actually can report stuff like that. So if we find a place that's been converted,
can I ask you then? I'm sorry to butt in, but Desta's just put in the chat box. They've actually removed the bins. The bins were removed by. So the actual bins they've put out there, it's up at Oakland. Is it Oakland's Avenue? Oakland's Grove. It's just off Holyhead Road, Oakland, by Oakland's
Road.
Is it Road?
It is, yes.
Yeah, Oakland's Road.
Oh, right, Avenue and Grove.
Yeah, forget the Avenue and Grove. It's Oakland's Road.
Let me get a manager to have a look at that.
It also is a big nuisance for the Gurdwara that's there, because the Gurdwara that's there, they're very clean, and they spend an awful lot of time ensuring that they make sure the site is well looked after. And then when you look across the way, it's an absolute disgrace. And sometimes Desta can't even get into Oakland for the amount of rubbish that's there.
Well, clearly there's a problem there, councillor. What I'll do is, I don't know why the bins were removed, but I'll get a manager back out there to assess what's needed, and we'll get the right facilities in place, and we'll make sure it's collected, because nobody wants it anywhere, outside of church, Gurdwara or mosque, anything. But we're dealing with that, and our guys are equipped to do it. So I failed to see why we're not doing it. That's an own goal by myself. But let me assure you, I'll take that back and get it looked at, that one specifically.
Sorry to interrupt. Can I just comment? Sorry,
yes,
it's Desta.
Yeah.
Basically, I spoke to one of the residents, and what happened was they were supposed to be providing them with bigger bins. So they took away the bins that were there and said within 24 hours, the bigger bins would arrive. And what happened was they actually just brought them blue recycling bins, which is completely inappropriate, because then what happens is they're putting normal household waste in those bins and the bin men are not taking it away because it's not recycling. Do you see what I mean? So then what the residents are doing is just putting the bags of rubbish on the floor outside because there's no normal bins and the bins that are there are not big enough. So that's what's happening. Now there's currently, I believe, 17 properties there and they're building more at the back. So I envisage this is going to be a huge problem. So the back of the property is actually on Rookery Road. Not Rookery Road, it's a road that comes off Rookery Road, and the front of the property is on Oakland Road next to the garage and across from the Gurdwara. So there's currently 17 properties there. So you can imagine the amount of rubbish.
So it does need to be sorted out. And the last point, but you may not have the answer to this, but if you send it to me, I'll make sure they get it. It says, what are the separate waste collection days for residents and the collection days for businesses, please, in the area? I'm sure you're not going to know that now. So
off the top of my head, no, I wouldn't. No.
No. So what we'll do is, Soho Road bid manager, what we'll do, we'll get those days and we'll let you know what the differences are. I thought, anyway, we'll get the days and we'll let you know. Okay.
Yeah. The only thing I would advise on that, councillor, is that lots of places we go to is by agreement with what they've got. Some places you might go to 2 or 3 times a week. You know, some of the bigger businesses, it would never ever mirror what our normal collection day is for a number of reasons. But so a big man, if you want to drop me a note, I can look to get that information if that helps you at all, councillor, with your workload.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. So can I say what a pleasure it is to have you today? Thank you so much. And I know the residents appreciate it also. Okay. And if I have no other questions, I am going to let you go and we'll move on to the next subject. Okay. And thank you for taking the time to come today.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, councillor. And I'm always available.
God bless then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Cheers, Liz. Thank you. Bye.
Can we move straight on to Carl Randall? I'm going to skip round a little bit because I haven't seen the police, so I'm going to ask Nina in a while. But Carl, can you give your update, please?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Hamilton. And,
thank you, Carl. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you, and good evening, everybody. My name is Carl Randall, Local Engineering Manager for Birmingham North. Covers the 23 wards from Sutton Coldfield through Erdington, Perry Barr, etc., including Holyhead ward. The main update really for today is using our ward minor transport measures funding. We are following on the scheme we did in Regent Road, and we are looking to redo the speed cushions in Westbourne Road. We have sent out to contractors for 3 quotes and we're awaiting this to come back. That's standard practice. Once we have that back and we have a look through and see what's the best price and the best value, we'll be able to raise an order for those works and progress with it. We've also sought the support of our TRO services team to advertise these. So the residents will be receiving this information shortly. The only other thing of note, other than the business as usual, is we did receive a petition some time ago calling for traffic calming measures on Rookery Road. And we have got a separate team working on that. Under the capital funding, the local safety schemes are being developed by colleagues, and they are looking at what can be done on Rookery Road. And at some point they'll be seeking the views of local councillors, yourself, Councillor Hamilton, and other stakeholders. And then when they are ready to develop the scheme further, they will then consult with those immediately affected and those within a reasonable radius. So that's probably the two main things, highways-wise, that we are working on in your ward.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you two questions, because I've not seen any hands up? The first question is about the bins that people keep leaving on the street. Yes. We have got a real issue with this in the ward, where people think that the street is part of their land and they are insisting on putting their bins on the street. Now, I know it's not a bin service issue. Well, I don't think it is. What I was told, it was a department of your department that deals with it. Could you let us know, is there a process? Because I get landed with these, and at times I feel really sorry for residents, because as you know, with Answorth, there are lots of narrow streets, roads like Regent Road, Westbourne Road, they're getting their cars bumped all the time. And then people are still trying to put bins on the street to preserve parking spaces. It's ridiculous.
Yes, Councillor, you're absolutely right. And we have, within colleagues, within highways and within waste management, we have looked at this issue. And what we've had to determine is it obstruction of the highway? And whilst it is to a degree, it's not your standard obstruction of the highway by using materials or other methods of obstruction. This is obstruction of the highway via wheelie bins. Now, under the agreements with wheelie bins, they are issued to residents and then they put them out in a reasonable time before collection, and then they take them in within a reasonable time afterwards. Now, we know parking space is an issue. It's an issue in Holyhead ward, as many other wards, where you have terraced houses, you have people with multiple vehicles or HMOs with multiple vehicles, and we simply haven't got enough highway space, full height curb space to park the number of vehicles that residents want to park. So what some people do, and we've experienced this in some roads in Holyhead quite recently, in Holyhead ward, is they put the bin in the road or leave it in the road. And what they're actually doing isn't obstructing the highway as such. What they're doing is reserving a space, which is misuse of the bin. So I have been forwarding the, I think it's about 4 or 5 that you've sent me over recent time, to colleagues in the particular section that cover the sort of regulatory aspects of using misuse of wheelie bins in order to reserve parking space. Now, that is with colleagues rather than with highways enforcement. So I would need any update to get from colleagues in that particular section of waste management.
Right. So is it possible for you guys to sort something out where we could even get a letter sent to the households that are doing it to say to them, you're not supposed to do this? Because it's causing arguments in the ward, especially on some of the streets. What I've tried to do is now, when they send it to me, I send it off to you. But this is an ongoing problem that we need some sort of an answer for, or some sort of a strategy, how we can take this forward.
It is, and a letter, almost a courtesy or an advance warning letter, would be a good idea, because at the moment it almost goes straight into the formal. An inspector goes out, checks, and the process is enacted. But if there was a lighter touch warning letter, let me talk with a particular section and see what their views are on this, because it does sound like that would be a good idea.
Right. Can I go over to Nina? Nina, do you want to ask anything?
Yeah, because I'm glad you raised those wheelie bins issue, Paulette. The issue, Carly, is that I know Paul is talking about the ones in the road, but what I notice is when people actually park their wheelie bins on grass verges, I've sent many emails to you, but when people having their houses done. The bricks goes on there, the sand goes on there, the cars goes on there. Now we've got a lovely area with grass verges around our area, but it's being damaged. So what can highway do in order to reinforce the things? I know you sent me an email to say it's a costing, isn't it? It's a costing thing, but it is just destroying, and that, like Paulette said, it causes problems between neighbours. It's just, you're just damaging the grass verges. It's a beautiful place to walk, and then you're going around.
Yes, you are right. You have sent me some emails and I have responded to them. Your area is blessed with a lot of grass verge, which is a visual amenity, and we try and protect it and look after it as best we can. Sometimes it all depends on the particular scenario. On some of the ones you've sent me where a resident is having significant building work done and they are putting building sacks of like sand or bricks, skip and that kind of thing on the grass, then I've forwarded those issues to our service provider, Cllr Highways. Cllr will arrange for somebody, an inspector, to visit the property and try and resolve with them the fact that they shouldn't be doing this. It's public highway and they're responsible for any damage and any rectification costs. But ideally, it's to try and get them, to remove the items off there. So it's a little bit easier in some ways where it's building work, we know who's doing it, and we can ask them to desist. It's a little more difficult if people are driving or parking on there. There are a host of measures and interventions that we can do. They all do come with associated costs. We can do legal orders, traffic regulation orders to prohibit parking on long lengths sections of grass. We can physical measures such as wooden or metal trip rail or an extra line of curbstones, but we have to balance this with other priorities within the ward. In Holyhead ward, Councillor Hamilton only has £10,000 as a particular budget for minor measures, and measures such as a curbstone around the grass can be around £75 each linear metre, each length of a metre. So in no time at all, it can be several £1,000s just to do a few pieces of grass verge. So we try first of all with our service provider Cllr to see if we can get notices or letters or visits to try and get people to stop. Where it's a particular problem along a longer length, that's when we'll work with your councillors around trying to do something a little bit more along a legal order. It's not always popular. We need to make sure that residents have alternative off-road parking, or the road is wide enough to accept those vehicles, because if people do continue to park or drive on the grass, they can be issued with a penalty charge notice of £70. So we need to be sure we're doing it in the right roads and the right areas. And funding is an issue. We do need to make sure we have the funding for it, because all measures cost several £1,000s at the end of the day.
Right, that's really good, Carl. We had something in the chat box from Ian regarding letters being sent out threatening £80 fines. Now, I know that was happening at first, but there seemed to be a bit of a stall there. That's why I've asked you if you guys can just get together and get a system that everybody's getting the same service, because some people are reporting it in and they're not getting that service of the letter automatically coming out threatening the £80. So if we can ensure that the department that's doing this, that they all follow the same process, it will mean that we get equality across the ward, because it is a bigger issue in some parts of the ward than others. But on that note, as per usual, Carl, love having you. I wish I could ask you a few more questions, but we're running out of time. So I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to call Keith Smith from Cllr in. They are our new highways people. I was going to ask Carl about trees, but I promise you I'm going to shut up. Keith, do you want to come in and give your report?
Good evening, Councillor. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Go on.
Good evening, Keith. Hiya.
Hi. Some of you may already know that I'm the highway steward for Cllr, and Cllr are the company that's taken over the same, a similar maintenance contracts that Amy used to have. We are currently looking through as many jobs as we can. We do seem to be getting more work done than was done under Amy. Lots of stuff's been reviewed. There's an integrated works program where roads are being resurfaced. So there is definite progress now over what we had 12 months ago. So we are aware that the roads do still have potholes and that there are defects out there, and we do still inspect exactly the same way that we used to under Amy. And yeah, we're getting on with trying to fix as many defects as possible.
Keith, can I say well done, because residents have not had as many complaints about potholes, especially up by Crockett's Road and what have you, since you guys have taken over. So I don't know if you've mended it and it hasn't come back up, but I haven't had as many complaints. And I have heard other councillors say that the service that you're providing, for whatever reason, I'm not going to knock another organisation, but it's far more efficient, and you are doing a better service. And it seems to me that you're working far more closely with highways, because there seems to be more communication there. So I'm just really pleased. Has anybody got any questions for Keith? Keith, I think people are happy with what you're doing, because I've had no questions for you.
Yeah, if I can just reassure everybody that we are out there. We do inspect every road on the network twice a year. We do still look for potholes and other defects and tree issues and street lighting issues. Yeah, we are doing what we can to try and make the highways better, working with a fantastic contract and colleagues at BCC. It's a very productive contract now.
Right, I think we've got two questions. We've got one from Mr. Panasar, and Nina, have you got a question?
No, not for Keir, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Panasar?
Hi, Councillor. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. My question is, with regards to all these people driving fast on Regent Road, up and down, going 100 miles an hour as usual. I know it's the last road and the first road next to Soho Road. Obviously, people are taking shortcuts from me. But there's a tragedy just waiting to happen. There are small ones happened before, but the next time is going to be on a bigger scale. Again, the question is going to be regarding the speed bumps, or the whatever your technical term you use for it, to raise them so people can slow down, or put those sausage rolls or whatever we used to call them in the old days. People got to slow down. Everyone's just one speed.
That isn't a question for Keith. That is a question for Carl. Carl, would you mind answering that question? And I'm going to give you one other question, but I need you to be quite concise. The second question is around trees. At the moment, I'm getting a lot of complaints about people wanting trees put in. In the old days, we used to get a tree program, so we had an idea of what streets they were going to be going on and what they were going to do. And Keith, that also street lighting, we used to get a program to know what was happening where, what is going on. So Mr. Panasar has asked about the speed bumps, and I'm asking about the trees. Thanks.
Okay, with the speed cushions, it is always difficult. People will speed, they're not always in their own vehicle with permission to have that vehicle, and speeding is a problem. Now we have to consider things like the emergency services, especially the NHS ambulance service, when they are transporting patients and patients with spinal injuries. You know, they are the first to actually object to schemes if they feel that what we're doing is going to have a negative impact on patients, and the emergency service if they think it'll have a negative impact on response times. So it's a balance. and the balance is drawn at about 75 millimetres height. If we go over that, the emergency services tend to object because of the negative effects. And if we go lower than that, then people argue that really it's not having any effect. What we rely on is the vast majority of law-abiding motorists going the appropriate speed, and then everyone behind simply has to adhere to that speed as well. But of course, if the one in front, you know, is just happy to drive at whatever speed and has no regard for the vehicle, then they are putting other people in danger. And all we can do is to continue to work with our neighbourhood police colleagues on neighbourhood speed watch and pro laser speed checks, etc., and hit people, you know, where it hurts, in the pocket ultimately.
See, Carl, I mean, don't mind me saying this, but I wouldn't mind. I will not raise my voice if a fire brigade or an ambulance service or any emergency vehicles crash my vehicle. I will accept it happily. Then you get Tom's, Dicks, and Harry's driving around, no insurance, no MOTs, nothing whatsoever. We don't even see them when they scratch our cars. I mean, I would say at least 90% of region roads, all their cars have been scratched. Most of people got new cars. We don't work just to get people to come buy new vehicles, and then you're sleeping in the middle of the night and people come and scratch their cars. Everything costs money. I mean, if the fire brigade was gonna, or ambulance was gonna crash my car, hey, by all means, I will not take action at all. And I'm sure my colleagues will agree with me as well, or my neighbors. So that's the only point. But then again, what you're saying, it makes sense as well.
I do totally agree with you, and I sympathise. I had a knock at the door 6 a.m. one morning from the police to ask, is this your vehicle, and was it damaged in this condition the previous day? And someone had done exactly that to my vehicle. I do sympathise and totally agree.
Can Keith, did you want to say a few last words? I think I asked a question.
Yeah, the tree pruning programme and the streetlight maintenance programme, I should be able to get my hands on from the appropriate teams. I can forward them over. I believe they run as they used to. I just need to get a copy of them for you.
Oh, that would be really good, because we've got a number of WhatsApp groups, and what we can do is put the streets into the WhatsApp groups, which will help residents to stop asking the question. So that's a really good answer.
The only thing I will probably possibly add to that is they may not be as in depth sort of going forward because it's an interim contract, so we can only plan so far ahead.
Okay.
So I'll see what I can find out. I can't guarantee that they are both there at the moment in the format that they used to be, but I'll find what I can and forward them on.
Okay, that is awesome. Thank you for that. That would be really good if we can get that. And can I go straight over to Nina? Nina does a really good job re StreetWatch, and today, unfortunately, we haven't got Dominic Braff here. So Nina, if you could just spend a few minutes just telling us what you've been doing re StreetWatch, so people have an idea. I think you were warned prior to the meeting, and then we'll go straight over to Neil to give an update for the Perry Barr constituency. Okay, over to you, Nina.
Okay, in our area we do StreetWatch, we do Neighbourhood Watch, and part of the things that we do is we look at fly tipping. So if there's any fly tipping going on, we report. I report to Carl if it's on the grass verges or someone else, or to the waste section if it's, you know, fly tipping on the roads or in the alleyways or things like that. What we've done now is there's one particular road that had actually got a hotspot, and these vans, we didn't know who was coming about to dump the rubbish. They probably were doing some work and they come and dump the rubbish there. So we got together with some residents because they didn't know who was doing it either. Then we found out one resident was doing, so we warned him, another resident was doing, we warned him. But in the end, no, we've got some CCTV cameras. So the residents actually put the money together to do that. So we sort that out. We also look at bonfires going on in our nearby allotments. So we deal with those kind of things as well. So I make referrals to the right, departments at the moment, the environmental health are dealing with that. Planning, we do it also because if there's HMOs that we suspect, we just go online and then put the details in and then report that. And at the moment, there's a house that's had 18 people living in there. We didn't know it was HMO, whether it was a residential. So that's under review at the moment as well. Coming to grass verges, that really is a subject to my heart. I've lived in this area for many, many years and I know how they were. And seeing them damaged by vans and cars, I know there's lack of space everywhere. Even on my road, there was lack of space, but we had to give up our gardens to park our cars. But on the grass verges near around me, what I've done is I've got, it's a project called The Meadows, and a lady called Alison and her team, they come out to plant wildflowers to maybe they will see flowers growing and that would prevent people parking their cars. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for next year when the flowers are going to grow. And, we don't stop at anything. We just go and do things that we can do. And going along we go for walks every morning, me and my friend, and we've been smelling this gas issue on the path. And it took us about 3 months to recognize ourselves that, and there's about 10 properties. And now I reported that 2 weeks ago to the gas board and they came out now and they're dealing. And they're actually a problem with the pipes, gas pipes.
So I think what you're telling us is if residents are a little bit more proactive, the services are there to support them, but they've got to be a little bit more proactive. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and also it's motivating residents as well, because if you see the good result, you then tell them. And I think we've got a good, a lot of residents around us now that actually want to do these things as well. And the last week saga at the allotment, what happened, the residents called the police and they've caught the thief. So with you need to be active. And being active, you can.
I think that's a good point for us for where you stop, Nina. We need to be more active as a community if we want to see change. Can I also say Mr. Panasar has asked about an issue regarding disabled bays. Mr. Panasar, Carl is here, but if I ask Carl to write in the chat box, I'm going to move straight on to Neil for Neil to just do his bit. Neil, you've probably got less than 2 minutes, I'm afraid, my friend.
No problem. Good evening, all. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Neil DeCosta. I work in the Neighbourhood Development and Support Unit, but what I also do is I'm the lead facilitator for a neighbourhood network scheme. Very quickly, what that is, and we work with adult social care, and we link people with their social care needs with provision within their communities, usually community organisations. Now, ever so quickly, I just want to thank, and I know that there are some people on the call today that are providing emergency support during the COVID-19 pandemic and the various lockdowns. It's been fantastic how you've come together and you've supported lots of vulnerable people and residents. Now, in terms of our neighbourhood network scheme, I have a funding pot for some small grants. We've already funded quite a few organisations who are providing emergency support within our wards across Perry Barr constituency. So I would urge you, if you're part of a community organisation, a faith organisation, a community group, and you are providing emergency support for people in this really, really vulnerable position at this time, please get in touch with me. There may be a possibility of some small grant funding for that, or indeed, if you're funded or you're able to provide at the present moment in time, I would really love to have your information and your contact details so we can put that on our list of contacts, so we can connect people who are in need with the services that are available. So thanks to all of you that are out there supporting, your neighbours and families during this very, very difficult time. I'll leave it at that for now, Councillor Hamilton.
Before I bring in Mrs. Rahal, I've got the Soho bid manager. I don't know his name, but I just want to know if he wanted to ask a question or was it a legacy hand that he'd got up?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Basically, while I've got Carl here and Nina raised some issues about the parking, just wanted to highlight that what we are doing, if you've seen along the Soho Road, we've got planters dotted along the Soho Road bid area, which is the Soho Hill, Soho Road and Holyhead Road. Along the Holyhead Road, we will be putting planters. They're quite large, where they have flowers and they're quite decorative, but they double up to prevent people parking on the roads. So that's an initiative that we're going to be doing with the help of Carl Randall to try and put them into places where there are problematic issues to prevent cars coming onto the pavements and destroying our footpaths. Just wanted to raise that with residents, and it's something that we'll be doing. And if there's anyone that has a place where they feel that there is issues, they can email me or Carl and just help us in putting those in place. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Can we go straight over to Mrs. Rahal? She's been waiting patiently, and I want to bring her in now in my little bit.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Regarding our issue on Station Road, you have already received an email from Mr. Khan. Yeah. And we was thinking we need to act fast before it get worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is it possible for the future we can have cameras on the road?
Can you explain what the issue is?
The issue is we got some HMOs on our road, which is really disturbing at the midnights. The neighbors has been complaining, they've been making noise and they've been really disturbing on this road. And a few houses are really got disturbed, and nobody is coming forward. But we noticed that point. We saw a police car as well on the road. So we all family people living here. Is it possible we can do something about it?
Well, I've written back to Mr. Khan, and what we need is some addresses. At the moment, we don't know what addresses they are, so we can ask people to go and find out what's happening. So I did send an email back to Mr. Khan, just asking him to link in with the officers to give us more detail, because
no problem,
they didn't have enough information. But thank you for bringing that to the meeting. Is there anybody else that has got any points that they want to raise this afternoon?
No, only it was me and Mr. Khan, and with Raj's help, we are trying to do something for the road so we can live peacefully, because this road was so peacefully. But now we are really getting disturbance in the midnights, you know, running here and there. But the way you said you already sent an email to Mr. Khan, we will go through and we will try to collect the evidence more evidence, and we will get back to you.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We are really appreciate that you're here to hear us. And obviously, I was sitting here for a long time, but thank you so much.
Yeah, it was good that you heard how much is going on in the ward.
I did, and I really enjoyed.
Okay, people think that nothing's going on, but this is quite a very proactive ward.
Yeah, you know what?
Because unfortunately, I need to finish for 6:30. So I just need to find out, are there any other issues that people want to bring up? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
That's fine, miss, because whatever you have talked about since 5 o'clock, those are the things I wanted to bring up about the rubbish, about the tipping, about the bins. But before I say, everything has been completed. So I'm so happy. And thank you so much for the helping. And I will speak to Mr. Khan again, and we will get back to you with collecting more evidence and more people to come forward. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you.
Right. If there are no other issues, I did have a thing here about local councillor updates. My updates, I think, with the bins, highways. I think they've all been responded to. So on AP, who is AP? 1 second. Mr. Parak, AP, Mr. Do you want to say your point? We have got 2 minutes. You've got your hand up, Mr. Arnett.
Hi.
Parak.
Can you hear me? Yeah, hi.
I can't hear you. Can everybody hear him?
Yeah, I can. Do you want to go ahead?
Go ahead.
Hi. Just touching the base on HMO issues. What it is, I am part of a member of Soho Road Bed, and we have an active ongoing work which we are doing with regards to dealing with exempt accommodations and HMO issues. So if you have any residents have any intelligence regarding this, if you can forward us, because we are trying to compile all the evidences and dealing with housing secretary of states and people dealing with housing strategies within the area to limit the number of HMOs and exempt accommodation in the area. So what I'm going to pop the email address on the chat box. So anyone who have any intelligence, any issues, try and write to us so that we can compile all the evidence to make our case more strong.
Right. Good. So Mr. Panasar, Nina, Desta, all of you that are here, if you know of any exempt accommodations, any HMOs, if we put all the addresses and what have you together, the SOO bid is working with the Secretary of State to do some work. So that would be another avenue. I know that the Friary Road, the Oxhill Road StreetWatch group are doing some really good work also with the council. So there is some good work going on anyway. But if you want to send the details, we can give that and we can ensure that we work with them to get something done with some of our, because it's not all of our HMOs and exempt accommodations that are creating problems, but we do know that it's causing big issues in the ward. So we do need to look at it. And on that note, I am at 6:30. It's a pleasure as usual. And I'm going to say good night and thank you for joining me. And the next meeting will be in January. So have a good Christmas, have a good festive season, have a restful time, and I'll see you in January. Well, I'll see you before then, but we'll have one of these again in January. God bless you then. Take care. Good night.
Thanks, Councillor Hamilton. Thanks, colleagues. Thanks, everybody. All the best. Good night. Bye-bye for now. Bye for now.
Bye.